What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here to react and to review what happened last night between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor at the UFC 264 press conference, of course. Now, these two were very amicable, very likable, very much in good terms with each other going to UFC 257, but this is all switched going to this one. Of course, at UFC 257, Conor McGregor lost by a TKO against Dustin Poirier in the second round. And this one is flipped entirely on its head. Conor McGregor's come back out, crazy Conor's come back, as it's been, named and anointed on social media. The Conor McGregor that everyone seems to be wanting or hoping to have returned came back out at a press conference at UFC 264 with scathing, quotes towards Dustin Poirier, his wife, the media. Everyone got it. And Conor McGregor, he is this superstar. He is this, the top of the food chain in MMA. Maybe not in terms of, his title defenses, his GOAT status, but the way everyone looks at MMA and the UFC when Conor McGregor fights, it's a different ball game entirely compared to everyone on the roster currently. There's people getting close to that. Jorge Masvidal's in that ballpark, Nate Diaz is in that ballpark, but no one's quite there where Conor McGregor is. And I think Adesanya's coming and catching up behind those two or three names that we mentioned prior. But last night, it felt, on reflection at least, I watched the press conference back today. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, you're watching it and you're thinking, Conor McGregor's back to his form of what we was used to against, the build-up to Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, the quick-witted, the smart-assed, Conor McGregor that had a reply to everyone. But we didn't seem to get that. We got someone who maybe was imitating that, maybe for the fans' perception. And I was likening it to, in the chat that I'm in, to Eminem. Eminem keeps and constantly is getting this, criticism of him that he needs to become the old Eminem. That he needs to go back to, the Marshall Mathers LP1, the Slim Shady LP, etc., and become that of what he was in his rise to fame, in his, categoric. He stratosphered up the charts, didn't he? And McGregor, similarly, his path in MMA has been, quite similar to that of Eminem's. He, came onto the scene. In terms of his underground, he was very well respected, well renowned underground. But as soon as he hit the mainstream, he was absolutely flying, and that it culminated in the Mayweather fight, where he secured his family's financial future, and rightfully so. Since then, he's obviously built Proper 12, he's built brands with August McGregor, etc., to the point where he's getting his own pubs and facilities in that area. Business wise, he's absolutely thriving at the moment, but inside the octagon, business is not where it should be, and he's trying to right that. And he's clearly thought this nice guy approach worked against Donald Cerrone, but maybe he was just always going to beat Cerrone no matter which one turned up. He is a fantastically talented fighter. He's a fantastically talented mixed martial artist, and he can do both sides very well. And this is where the Eminem comparison, for me at least, comes in. He's trying to imitate the old Eminem, or the old Conor McGregor, should we say, and it comes off as a bit flaky, a bit cringy. There's no authenticity there with it. The "who the fuck is that guy" quote was something that was quick-witted, off the cuff, something that you can't script those moments, those highlights of Conor McGregor. And it felt like last night, and at least maybe within the media week, this whole build-up this week, I can't decide, I can't predict, and we'll do the preview later today for UFC 264, the card as a whole, now that both weigh-ins have happened. I cannot predict how this fight's going to go. The only thing I can say is I don't think it goes the distance. I think we're going to see one of these two get slaughtered within 3 rounds. I just can't predict and, put my finger on who I think it'll be right now. But, I think, it almost felt scripted. And if you look at the media week, all the interviews and answers that Conor McGregor has given, it has been the same. Now, whether that's a confidence, whether he's confident in himself, it's consistent at least. So he's present. He's not. The 229 had a lot of 229 build up had a lot of controversy in terms of them drinking too much, partying too much, and there has not been any of that. I believe. I think Conor McGregor is present. I think is a better version of what we saw at 257 for sure. I just don't know we're seeing an authentic version, perhaps. And we, again, the Eminem point, let me finish that. it's very hard when you're at the peak of your powers, when you've completed and accomplished everything you set out to reverse it to that angry, to that, to that side where you're pissed off at the world, where you're wanting the world to take notice of you, and, you're looking at, showing that your craft is the best. Eminem did that, and, recent, 5-6 years, he's had a lot of criticism for losing that sort of, that what made him good aspect in terms of, the early stages of his career. And Conor McGregor is getting the same thing. He has matured, he's become a father, he's someone who doesn't have to worry about his financial capabilities. He doesn't have to worry about, I need this next fight so I can feed my family, I can, pay the rent, where we would have had that, going up probably towards maybe the Chad Mendes-Aldo fight, where he probably would have been, financially secure to not fight for 2, 3, 4 years. But you can't just, you can reflect and, look at your past and take inspiration from it, but you can't put yourself in that spirit without it being inauthentic and maybe a little bit scripted. And Colby Covington gets a lot of slack for it being scripted, and maybe, it's not intentionally scripted, but the fact that he's saying the same answers at the same point, maybe he's, trying to tell himself what is going on and where he's at and where he wants to be at, rather than it coming off as an authentic sort of real approach to the fight. There wasn't many off the cuff moments. There wasn't, there was the guy in the pink suit, which I think was, quite disrespectful to Conor, saying, he's only won one fight since Barack Obama became president. It's not the job of the media to agonize or antagonize these fighters, or go after these fighters. There to build a story, to build the narrative, and to get both parties from it. You don't have to, personally, go after one fighter. And it happened at the 205 press conference as well. And McGregor came out from that. Dustin Poirier, I think, held himself very, very well, very calm. He looked like someone who was, at the top of his game, very mature. And I think he came up with the best liners, with the, it's not McGregor fast, it's McGregor sleeps. I thought that was an incredible line. And it showed where Dustin Poirier is right now. And it showed where Conor McGregor is right now. Because Conor McGregor couldn't, come back towards that. He looked quiet. Whereas the 2014 when these two first fought, that Dustin Poirier probably would have crumbled under this press conference, and Conor McGregor probably would have, had something to clap back at Dustin Poirier for those comments and those remarks. And there was an element of the 229 press conference, obviously the throwing of the hot sauce bottles. Again, we saw that with Aldo, the taking of the belt. We know how good McGregor is getting under the skin of his opponents, but I don't think right now he can get under the skin of the likes of Dustin Poirier, especially with Dustin Poirier coming into this fight, knowing that he's just knocked him out, knowing that he has the capabilities to knock him out. And this is where it is a trilogy bout, but it doesn't have that feeling of a trilogy bout because the first one was so long ago. It's not like the Stipe DC trilogy where there was only 3 years in between the completion of that trilogy. It's been 7 years in the making. And 2021, I think, might just be Dustin Poirier's year, but I could be proved wrong. And I'll, would go delve deeper into that in the preview later. But the press conference, it was tough to draw anything out from it, and it'd be interesting to see what the ceremonial weigh-ins are like tonight. Obviously both made 156. I think that's where we might get more of an indication as to what happens tomorrow night. But I do think we're in for a very fantastic night. The fight card's fantastic as a whole, and Conor McGregor can be this guy that we wheel out once a year and put him like with the weigh-ins today, the official weigh-ins. He's had a back and forth with Rafael dos Anjos, who's the backup today. So there's something there. We can have him fight Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal. We can have this sort of legend sort of bouts and these commercial bouts, celebrity fights you could call it, where he doesn't pull in 1 million pay-per-view buys, does sell out an arena, but we only do it once or twice a year. That worked with Mayweather because everyone was tuning in to watch Mayweather lose his own. If Conor McGregor loses tomorrow, he's still going to be a fantastic draw, a fantastic fight that everyone's going to want to put their name to. But there isn't that, what am I taking from McGregor, other than maybe a good payday, which, again, a good payday is everything. But for legacy, the more we see him, if McGregor loses in the same fashion he did against Poirier at 257, there's a real question of what's next and where he goes next. And there's an element of the Ronda Rousey, ending in MMA, where, obviously Poirier is playing both Holm and Nunes in this scenario where, he's coming into finishing the job. McGregor, as like Rousey did very little media in that final fight at 207. Obviously, she came in quite angry, quite ferocious. Again, at the media, quite, the enemy of the media, you could say. And McGregor's probably the enemy of the media. At the moment with this, obviously, Nunes quietly done a work, of course, at ATT as well. So same gym, same sort of environment as Dustin Poirier, who's coming in and probably showing the world that he is number one. Obviously, Charles Oliveira is the champion, but many thought Dustin Poirier should have probably taken that title bout. He rightfully didn't take that bout and took this opportunity to secure his family's future. And knowing that he's just beat Conor, if he wins, he's going to get that title bout anyway against Charles Oliveira later down the line. So it's really an interesting one, and this is where the fight gets really, really, enjoyable and highly anticipated, because we don't know what's going to happen to either of these competitors. To be fair, we know what's going to happen to Dustin Poirier. He's going to be a top 5, top 6 lightweight until he probably retires. But the aspect of Conor, there's so much on the line, and he didn't portray himself as someone who maybe does have a lot on the line. Again, to bring out another example, he kind of feels like Jose Mourinho right now in soccer and football, where he's had this amazing success. Porto, Chelsea, Madrid, he had that, blueprint and that purple patch where he is one of the most phenomenal managers that we've ever seen in the sport of football. Conor McGregor had the same purple patch in MMA. He did reach the top. And maybe right now we're going through a point similar where Jose's come to Manchester United, Tottenham, etc., where there's a bit of bitterness in there, where he's seeing that his peers have risen and maybe gone above him at this point. And he is securing his legacy and securing what he's done for the sport of mixed martial arts, Conor, and what Mourinho has done in football. That there's a bit of bitterness between them two, and they don't know how to get to that next stage, how to move on. There's obviously all these talks about evolutions of Conor McGregor 2.0, 3.0, etc. But maybe we're just at this point in mixed martial arts where the game has overtaken Conor McGregor in terms of a sporting aspect, a competitive aspect. He doesn't have to be top 5. As I mentioned, he can fight the Nate Diaz's, the Jorge Masvidal's once a year, and we can have a fantastic, time watching a fantastic phenomenon do what he does. But if he loses tomorrow, of course, he's going to be very stuck, and the shine of the Notorious One isn't forever going to be shining the way it was when he walked away to box Mayweather back in 2016. That was the pinnacle of Conor McGregor, and had he stayed in the sport of MMA, made 1, 2, 3 title defenses, who knows where we'd be looking at him right now. But yes, I'm going to leave it there, guys, because we will have to do the preview tonight at UFC 264, of course. Poirier versus McGregor 3. We've got Thompson versus Burns, and we've got Sean O'Malley on the card against Chris Martino, who's making his UFC debut. We did see Irene Aldana miss weight, so there's a lot of talking points there, and we will catch that later around 10 p.m. tonight, of course. So I'll see you guys at the UFC 264 preview. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to put down in the comments down below, who did you think won the press conference? Was there even a winner? Was it Poirier, McGregor, or did you think it was one of those ones where neither came out the best? Let us know. Of course, go follow us on socials at CageChat MMA on Twitter and Instagram. We'll of course be following the fight, and of course everything that unfolds from the fight, of course, over the weekend. So yes, make sure to go drop that follow, and I'll see you guys on the next video.